Welcome to another episode of the Knock On Podcast, brought to you by the good people of Zero Tackle. And Dan, we had an Origin-affected weekend of rugby league, but that did not affect the news and headlines that have been happening in the rugby league world. And of course, you've got all the talking points, mate. So start with us. What do you got?
Let's do the big one. Before we get to Origin, the big news over the last few days is that Lachlan Galvin set to become a Bulldog. But we're not going to discuss that. We're going to discuss the moves that have already been put into place, supposedly, in that Reed Mahoney has said he wants out and has been given permission. And Toby Sexton, whose contract extends at the end of the year, also leaving. Bulldogs sitting top of the comp. Looks like they're going to lose 2 players of their spine to accommodate this bloke. Are they blowing it up?
No, they're not blowing it up. They will have both of them for the remainder of the year, and that is good depth. I am not surprised that Gus Gould is looking to ship Reed Mahoney off. We've seen it when he was at Penrith, that if anyone portrayed a little bit of not towing the Gus Gould line, that they were moved on. You know, we saw it with Michael Jennings. We saw it with Michael Gordon. Michael Gordon, minor indiscretion, went out and got pissed at Panthers Leagues Club and had to go at a cab driver and was told he could go to Cronulla. We've seen, you saw it happen. Peter Wallace was moved on for not towing the Gus Gould line. Ivan Cleary was moved on for not towing the Gus Gould line. So I'm not surprised with Reed Mahoney, right? And I'm not surprised with Toby Sexton because this is a Toby Sexton choice. Right, Toby Sexton has said that he wanted to extend with the Bulldogs, but now they've brought in Lachlan Galvin. He doesn't feel that there's going to be a spot for him, and there probably isn't. There's been lots of hyperbole over the weekend that they're going to move Matt Burton to fullback, or Stephen Crichton to fullback and Matt Burton to the centres, or Galvin and Burton in the halves, or one of them playing lock. I honestly can see Lachlan Galvin being pegged a little bit by Gus Gould and saying, all right, you're on the bench to start off with before we figure out what's going to happen, whether you can run the team or whether we need to put Matt Burton in there. Now, we spoke about it on
Outlaws.
Rugby League Outlaws. We spoke about it on Rugby League Outlaws that Matt Burton has played 7 before with Jerome Luai. So it's not uncommon for Matt Burton to play in the 7, and Lachlan Galvin has also said that he wants the reins of the next football club that he goes to, which is, I'm very surprised he didn't go to Parramatta to get that. But look, one is a Gus Gould decision and one is a player decision, and I think that was going to happen the minute you sign a Marquee man, because if it wasn't Toby Sexton, it'd be someone else.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think it's risky because they got a culture at the moment where the Bulldogs look like they'll die for each other. The fans have all bought in. Obviously, winning and leading the comp helps that, but I mean, they were playing okay last year, and you didn't feel this surge coming on. You go, they got Bronson Xerri up and firing. Stephen Crichton is, leading them round. There's just this real good feel at the moment, and they've got and bought in this very talented kid who I'm a huge fan of. And they're saying, okay, 2 players who were in the spine, who got them to the top of the comp, aren't going to be there. There's talk that either could leave straight away too if they receive. Now, I think Reed Mahoney is going to go straight to the Cowboys and replace Reeves Robson next season. I think Toby Sexton will go back to the Titans, and he'll be a halfback beside one of their 35 number 6s. But it's a huge risk for a kid that we don't know can play halfback, has been told he's probably going to play lock in the future. Probably looks best at 5'8", but then what do you do with the 5'8", et cetera, et cetera? The reason I bring this up is it seems like they were humming. And now they're bringing this kid in, and he's been left out of the Tigers, which says to me, he'll be a Bulldog. They have the bye this week. He'll line up for him in round 14. I think they're blowing the whole club up for this kid, and I don't know if it's worth it. I think long-term it is, but I think this year, I think they're going to go backwards before they go forwards.
Look, again, I can't see Gus Gould rocking the apple cart too much for 2025, and I think it's going to be a case for Lachlan Galvin of you have to force your way into the team via the training paddock. He's not going to play New South Wales Cup. Let's be very clear. He won't play New South Wales Cup. For mine, there was an easier scapegoat for Toby Sexton because I think Toby Sexton fits alongside. Well, he fits the Bulldogs' plan of kick and facilitate to the better players. The expendable man in all of this for mine was Connor Tracy, and that would be Connor Tracy out Stephen Crichton back to fullback, Matt Burton in the centres, and he just roams.
Yeah,
I think that would have been the easier way.
that's exactly how I thought it was going, and we laughed on Outlaws about they got 5 or 6 blokes that could play 5 or 6 positions. So it is certainly it'll find its way 100%. You might be right. He might have to come by the bench, but mate, all this could have been avoided if he just went to
Yeah.
Parramatta, which I think and maintain today was the right decision all along.
Yeah, I think it was the right decision all along because he would, and I think Parramatta thought that as well. And they maybe got a bit too cute with the negotiations because the minute Gus Gould wants someone, there's PowerPoint presentations. He knows what school you went to. He knows your kindergarten teacher's name. He's probably sent flowers to your grandmother, right?
Good.
Whereas Parramatta just thought, former junior, Mitch Moses, we'll speak to him for 15 minutes and we'll have a chat with Isaac Moses. And it probably hasn't gone the way that Parramatta thought it was going to go.
No, not at all.
And you see this happen so many times in sports now where your pitch to a player is just as vital as the money that you're putting on the piece of paper, because you can offer a player in the NRL $1.5 million, but if he doesn't buy into your project or he doesn't buy into where you're going in the future, and look, Lachlan Galvin probably also has a look at Parramatta and goes, probably in the same spot as I am at the Tigers, even though I get to control things. That's not a very good team, whereas the Bulldogs are in win now mode, and they're probably in win now mode for the next three or four seasons. They've got the crust of that team that they love signed down long term, including Stephen Crichton. So I think he's probably gone for I could pitch hit a premiership or two in the next couple of years and make myself look really, really good when I come off contract.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people have come in and said that he's cost himself $1 million in this contract. It's not about his
Woe is
contract.
me. He'll make that in his next
He's
one.
going to make it, and he's probably going to make it in rep payments because this kid can play Origin. I maintain that. I know Tigers fans have turned. I don't blame them since this has all happened, but you go back and read the posts. He's someone that we're going to be looking at Origin in a few years' time. I just cannot believe it. He looked at that and said, I'll play a role at the Bulldogs or I'll go and sit next to Mitch Moses for 5 years. That to me was just, as soon as Dylan Brown went, I was like, well, Galvin's going the Eels.
That's I thought I had Bulldogs third on my list. I thought he was either going to the Eels or the Roosters until he found out that the Roosters don't deal with Isaac Moses. So I was like, it's the Eels, and then the Bulldogs. And obviously, as you say it out loud, the Eels have done something that's cost themselves this talent.
It has to be the pitch because they had $1 million or whatever for Brown, which would have just gone to Galvin. You put him next to Mitch Moses for 5 years, and in terms of halfbacks that make 5'8" look good, he just got Dylan Brown a $10 million or $12 million deal over 10 years. He's playing Origin tomorrow or tonight by the time this drops. I maintain he's a top 3 halfback in the game, and I reckon he'll go to up, probably number 2. Who knows? He might even push Cleary. You got Lomax out. You got Paulo up front. You got this young coach that evidently everyone's real cock a hoop about. You got this fan base that had Galvin putting it across, jerseys. You had the backstory, the junior, the prodigal son returns home. And then at the last minute, the Dogs, who don't forget, were very, we're not dealing with Galvin. We don't want him. We don't need him. We got what he have. Come in and get him like that. That's a Roosters play. I don't know what Parra did, but they've definitely done something wrong.
They've done something wrong.
Now, we move from a negative, or not really, to a positive, Terry, because my very good friend, Terry, will be my enemy tonight as he supports the dirty, rotten Queenslanders. State true.
I'll never be your enemy, mate.
Now, look, true, but less of a lovely mate. I want you, Terry, to say 3 nice things about the New South Wales football team, and I will say 3 nice things about the Queensland team.
See, I think this is a stitch up, so I want you to go first.
Okay, well, it's not. I was actually hoping you would go a stitch up, make you feel bad. All right, I'll go first. 3 nice things about Queensland. The first is Big Tino. I think he might be my favourite non-Shark. Now, I know I bang on about AJ Brimson, and I really like AJ Brimson, but that's become a joke of its own. I also like Jaden Campbell and Kinney, a lot of Titans, as you'll notice. But Tino and Tarpany, one of those two are my favourites. This bloke will die for his team. He has played in a pretty rubbish Titans outfit all season and led from the front and been the best player almost every week. He's got so many points on our zero tackle MVP. Wouldn't shock me if he wins it. I love the bloke. The second, again, I don't want to go a player, but I have to. The Hammer. How can you not like the Hammer? Full disclosure, I wrote an Origin preview that probably drops around the same time as this hits YouTube and the website. And I've got New South Wales ahead in a lot of areas. The centres, despite having a 10-game rookie, I had to think about for a few minutes. The thinking being Stephen Crichton will be out and Campbell Graham will probably be announced by now. Such is the Hammer in Queensland. He just scores tries. Even when they get belted, he scores tries. And the one thing I love /hate about you Queenslanders is the fact that New South Wales probably have 10 of the best 17 players, maybe 13 of the best 17. And no one, myself included, is willing to tip New South Wales because you pricks have made a decade of getting rubbish teams, rubbish coaches, getting out there in front of your fans and just belting New South Wales. And I hate it. And I am so jealous of it. Lindsay Collins playing rubbish football. He'll be the best prop on the field tonight, no doubt. Cherry Evans, horribly out of form. Probably kicked 2 40-20s. Kalen Ponga can't catch a ball. Newcastle play better without him. I betcha he sets up a try and probably scores one tonight. I hate it, but Terry, I got to hand it to you Queenslanders. You know how to win as underdogs.
I was convinced this was a stitch up.
Yep.
I was absolutely convinced this was a stitch up.
Yep.
So let me go my non-stitch up for you then, as you have here. I want to praise the New South Wales selectors for getting 16 out of 17 positions correct this year. And a lot of the times when you've been under Brad Fittler as your coach, I think even Michael Maguire made a few mistakes last year as well. But more so, let's go back to the Freddie days of Turbo being picked when he shouldn't have been picked, of Jake Trbojevic being picked when he shouldn't have been picked, of, just absolute people who didn't deserve it but have a reputation being picked. I think 16 out of the 17 positions were nailed on this year by New South Wales, and that includes picking Zach Lomax, who has been, I wouldn't say he's been out of form, but from an outsider looking in, you could turn around and go, I understand if Jacob Kiraz had got the nod over Zach Lomax, but I think the way that Zach Lomax played last year, he was, as a winger, he was probably the fourth best player in the series last year. So I think they absolutely nailed it. Obviously, the one that they didn't pick was Terrell May, and I don't know how Spencer Lee was in there, but I will say 16 out of 17. Congratulations, you've absolutely nailed that. The next thing that I'm insanely jealous of is your front row. I have to say that a front row of Payne Haas and Mitch Barnett terrifies me. Those guys have engines. They're aggressive. We know Mitch Barnett doesn't care about anything. Mitch Barnett doesn't care about his reputation. And I reckon Mitch Barnett would high shot his mum if he had to. Payne Haas probably wouldn't high shot his mum because his mum would smoke him. But everything else about him is just... Payne Haas has come out this year and he wants to win the Dalian. He's absolutely incredible. And the last thing I'll say about New South Wales that I really love, apart from yourself, is the spine that you have. Because although Dylan Edwards is out of form, he's a workhorse and he knows how to win. The guy's got 4 premierships. He was part of a winning series last year. He's got a Clive Churchill medal. He's played for Australia. He's done it all in the big games. Mitchell Moses, the series turned last year on his selection. Straight up, the series turned last year on his selection, and I'm very surprised that he wasn't named man of the series. Nathan Cleary, no matter how out of form he is going to eventually put it together in an Origin series. I think this is the year he's going to do it because he's done everything else. This is the time for him to stand up and go, I am one of the all-time greats, and I will be remembered as an all-time great because I did it in every arena. And Reece Robson, whilst not in the best form last year, if you go back and watch his Origin performances, he was unreal. And Connor Watson will come off the bench and spell him as well. And Connor Watson is awesome as well. So I think you guys have absolutely nailed the selection process. You've nailed it. And I actually you got to praise Laurie Daly for this as well. And I know you can rightly or wrongly criticize his coaching in the past, but I think he's taken the right steps to redeem himself by picking such a strong side.
There we go. There you have it. The last
3-0 New South Wales.
we'll ever say. I'm not putting it out there because Queensland, they'll watch
3-0 New
this.
South Wales.
They'll watch this
3-0. 3-0.
and they'll use it as fodder. Something a little bit less serious. Josh Addo-Carr took up his extension, his player option or mutual option for Parramatta, and I'm glad to see it because he has been absolutely fantastic this year. Zach Lomax has also come out during the week and said, "Yeah, I'm a winger," and everyone, including ourselves, are like, "Well, duh."
Yeah, we know.
They now have arguably top 3 wing combination in the competition.
Now, look, I think I'm not as high on Josh Addo-Carr anymore as I used to be, and I think, well, when he was young, when he was like peak Melbourne, Josh Addo-Carr in sort of early years at the Dogs, when he was just lightning quick, you could put him in some space. But yeah, teams have found now that you just overstack his side and you don't give him the space out there. And Parramatta aren't really creating a lot of space for him. He doesn't have the work ethic of one of the better wingers in the game at the moment. Zach Lomax, I'll hear it. He's great. I would not put that as a top 6 wing combination.
That's fair, a little bit harsh, but Addo-Carr, still plenty quick. You saw the other week where he burnt players left, right, and centre.
Yeah, look, the one time Parramatta created some space for him, yeah, he was pretty
Well,
good.
there you go. I'm just saying that with Moses and back, who knows? I just think this guy is, and this is not.
He's so much fun. He's so much fun. He's a big personality, and it's better to have Josh Addo-Carr in the game than not.
Absolutely, and it's better to have him on your side. Now, he was a Cronulla junior, and we heard nothing but good things about how this kid was going to be huge. And then he got walked out of Cronulla for whatever reason.
Yeah, his attitude, he couldn't put it together. You know what? He went to West Tigers and he couldn't put it together. And he went down to Melbourne and Craig Bellamy smoked him.
And he got it together, and he became arguably the best winger in the game. I'm so happy to see because what they're building at Parramatta, it's a slow build, but it's good. And we're rugby league fans first, Sharks fans second, depending on what say you ask. So it's good to see the teams come through. But I just love what he brings to that club. I love how much he loves the club. And I did feel that he fell away just a little bit in the back end of his Dogs career. And I think that's been really quickly forgotten in what he's done at Parramatta in a relatively short span. Let's be honest. It hadn't been that long, but I love what I've seen, and I love that he's extended out the club. What I don't love is that Tommy Turbo is injured yet again. Now, Manly have come out and said they announced this before the teams went out because I think Manly fans would have blown up if they didn't name him. His brother Jake is going to miss another week through concussion. That sucks. No, we don't want to hear that because injuries, you can treat them. Take an extra week. Concussions, still relatively new. So we wish him all the best.
That's even something that we won't joke about.
Spot on. But Tommy Turbo had a cork, had a couple of weeks out, came back, has looked pretty pedestrian, let's be honest. And now he's injured again. He's re-aggravated it. During those 2 games or 3 games, I think it's 2, he looked pretty horrible, let's be honest.
He looked pretty good against the Cowboys, but it was the Cowboys.
True. So 3 games. Against Cronulla, he tried to burn Nico Hines, who isn't quick and couldn't get past him. And then this past week against Parramatta, he was an absolute passenger. I think they got to get Lehigh Hopewadi to fullback and put him in the centres and try and get something out of this bloke because he can't be in for 3, out for 3.
Yeah, it's either Lehigh or I think the obvious one is Cooler. Cooler goes to fullback and he goes into the centres as well. But, I know the future fullback is Lehigh Hopewadi. Do you want to put Turbo on the wing and let him roam? But, if you're putting Turbo on the wing, you may as well just waste him at fullback.
Yeah,
right?
That's a good point.
But you can also put Garrick back on the wing because I don't think Garrick has been that good in the centres.
Yeah.
Let's face it. Garrick scored 9 million points on the wing, and whilst he's still goal kicking pretty well, he's not the best centre.
No.
So you can shuffle those players around there, but yeah, it is somber to watch what Tommy Turbo was back in the day to what he is now, and he looks like at any minute, like his legs look like toothpicks; they don't bend anymore, and he looks like at any minute if he tries to hit top speed, his hamstring's going to explode.
Yeah. It's as you said, it genuinely sucks because he's one of the best players to watch. And when he
those Tom Turbo's hamstrings have robbed us of a generational player.
Absolutely right. And I mean, I go back to when he and Latrell were in the centres for New South Wales. There was no beat New South Wales. They just couldn't get them together because one's always injured.
I remember being in Queensland in 2001, I was up at Caxton Street Pub for that game where you guys beat us 50-6, and it was the Turbo and Latrell show.
Where 2011, you mean, yeah?
No, 2021.
Oh, 21. I thought you said 2001. I'm like, Mike.
Oh, sorry, I probably did 2021.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
that's better. Yeah, I rewatched that. That was the game in Perth. It was raining, right? And they both scored
Yeah,
9
yeah,
tries.
pissing down. Yeah, I was at Caxton Street that night. Went home at halftime. It was like 30-something nil.
It was insane. This guy's so good, and I hate to see it. It's at a point now where Manly fans who have famously been, you put up with it the couple weeks out to have him there at the business end of the season, are all saying we've got to halve his contract. No, I don't think that's unfair. Obviously, that wouldn't fly with the NRL. You can't just do that. But he's what 20 something now. He's at late 20s. Is it worth saying take a year out of the game, get right, and come give it a crack? Because at this rate, he's going to limp into retirement, and I hate it.
Yeah, look, you could do that, but then Manly still have to pay him.
Mhm.
He goes to America or he goes to Thailand or whatever it is to do his rehab, and Manly can't call on a player, so they're essentially playing with a 29-man squad for the year. It's not the worst shout, but I think the easy solution that Seabolt's going to have to make is sticking him in the centres.
Yep, I agree. And now a little bit of rule breaking news as I was logging in. Taylan May, pretty handy player. Got some issues off the field. We won't go into that. It's not the forum for that. But looks like he might sign with the Bunnies. I'm hesitant to be positive here because of obvious reasons, but I think in terms of talent, I think it's a pretty handy pickup for the Bunnies. I think it's a Wayne Bennett pickup, and I liken it to Dane Gagai, who was an undoubted superstar in the making, but couldn't quite get it right because of himself. Let's face it. As soon as he went under Bennett, he never looked back. If we're going to bring May back into the game under Bennett, let's hope it's a success story, and we hope we're talking him as the same as Dane Gagai. What are your thoughts?
You know what the ironic thing about Dane Gagai is, though, is that it was Wayne Bennett that cut him loose in the beginning because he couldn't get his shit together.
True, but
Wayne Bennett from Brisbane said, he said, Dane Gagai packing. So it said, he goes, the only place I'm going to release you to is Newcastle. Take that hole on your life. And then Dane Gagai went, I'm sorry, and went to Souths. I think they crossed paths as well while Bennett was at Newcastle, but it's funnier to say this. But look, I hear it about Talamay, but I think the West Tigers will make a late play for him because they're about to lose Lachlan Galvin, and it looks like Dewey's going to go into the halves until this Lanu kid, Fainu, Latu Fainu, yeah, whatever his name is, Fainu, is going to be right to come back into the NRL. I would make that play because I get it. They've got some okay players in their team, but who are their centers? Stafford Toa and Adam Dewey, or Stafford Toa and Brent Naden. Talamay's better than all three of them.
Yeah, yes, premiership winner.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a bloke who was linked to.
He's not. He never played in the premiership grand final because he did his ACL and he did his shoulder.
Oh well, he was there when they won a title.
He was there, and he should have had 2-3 premiership rings, but injuries rightfully robbed him.
Yeah, and I mean,
he's a terrible set of lads, but he's a
bloody good player, and he won't forget his name because of the tattoo. I was hesitant to put this on because of
Souths is a great shout for him, but I still think the Tigers will make one last pitch.
it was. We don't like talking about these sorts of things on here because it's a fun show. We like to joke and stuff, but we've seen players come back and build careers. Adam Fanua-Blake, Matt Lodge to a degree, not so much, but rugby league's got a. It doesn't heal. You'll never undo what's been done, and I don't, whatever. But if he's coming back, I want to see him come back into a situation where one, he's away from Nathan Cleary, and two, they make it worth it. Because if in 12 months he's been kicked out again, what's the point? Waste everyone's time. So I wish him the best, etc., etc. I want him to go to South because if he goes to Tigers under Benji with his brother, 12 months we're having the same discussion again. So
Yeah,
it's
fair.
good, mate. But on the way out, can I just get a quick prediction? Man of the match and first try scorer for tonight's Origin contest.
New South Wales. Where's this game being played at?
Tackle.
New South Wales. 32-14. Let's go to the Trell back-to-back. First try scorer, man of the match.
Perfect. I went New South Wales by 8, I believe, or 6. I had the Troll first try scorer. I think they're going to go there real early. I think Mitch Moses will be man of the match. And tomorrow's headline will read, Holy Moses, he's done it again.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Knock On Podcast, brought to you by the good people of Zero Tackle, your one-stop shop for everything rugby league. Breaking news, transfers, contracts, player movements, signings, power rankings. The 20-1. Dan, did the Canberra Raiders make the top of the power rankings this week? If the answer is no, you're wrong.
Yes, they did. The Bulldogs have fallen to second. The Raiders have.
The Raiders. The mighty Raiders.
That's why.
The Green Machines.
Because they're fun. Now, this week, mate, not only can you log in now, I believe, or maybe within an hour and get my Origin preview, and not just to who's going to win and why, it's a full breakdown of where the game can be won for each team and each battle. Scott has got some fire. Now, I've seen a quick outline of this because he ran it by me and we had a good laugh. He's saying that Lachlan Galvin signing for the Bulldogs is the best thing to happen to the Bears.
Oh.
Not a big fan of Lachlan Galvin, is our Scott, so make sure you check that out. I'm usually the one that comes in there with the hyperbole and the fire, but Scotty delivers, so check it out this week on Zero Tackle.